My toxic sister sabotaged my wedding, lied for years, and tried to steal my baby. I never thought I'd say this, but my own sister turned the happiest day of my life into the loneliest moment I've ever experienced. And the worst part? My parents let it happen. I'm 31F. My sister Pam is 34F. She's always been the dramatic one in the family, constantly needing attention, always the victim, forever caught in some kind of emotional storm she expects everyone else to weather with her. But I never imagined how far she'd go to make my world crumble just because hers was falling apart. It started when she got divorced about 6 months before my wedding. Her husband left her, and she spiraled. And I don't say that lightly. Suddenly, every family conversation was about her suffering, her loneliness, her unfair situation. I did my best to be supportive. I listened to her cry on the phone at 2 a.m., I comforted her during holidays, I even toned down my bridal shower plans because she said they were too cheerful. I was trying. Genuinely. But apparently, trying wasn't enough. 3 months before my wedding, Pam started making little comments. You sure you want to have a wedding right now? It just feels a bit tone-deaf with everything going on. Then a few weeks later. I don't think I can emotionally handle being your maid of honor. It just reminds me too much of what I lost. I said, okay, that's fair. I didn't want to pressure her. I told her she could take a smaller role or just attend as a guest. But looking back, I think she never planned to support me. She wanted me to cancel the whole thing. A month before the wedding, things escalated. Suddenly, my mom called me and said, Sweetheart, we've been talking and maybe it would be a good idea to postpone the wedding until Pam's feeling better. She's really struggling. Wait, what? Postpone my wedding? For Pam's feelings? I was stunned. My wedding had been planned for over a year. Venues were booked. Deposits were paid. Friends and family had already made travel plans. But more than that, this was my moment. For once, it was supposed to be about me. I gently explained that I loved Pam, but her divorce couldn't dictate the rest of our lives. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 2 weeks before the wedding, I noticed the RSVPs were off. Several family members who had previously confirmed were now declining. Some didn't even respond. I called my cousin, someone I've always been close to, and asked if something was wrong. That's when the bomb dropped. Honestly, I didn't want to say anything, but Pam's been telling people that you cheated with her husband. That you're the reason they got divorced. I couldn't breathe. Pam was telling people I ruined her marriage. That I was the villain in her heartbreak story. I had never even had a conversation with her husband alone. Ever. And yet, she crafted a narrative where I was the evil, man-stealing sister, celebrating her wedding while dancing on the ashes of her marriage. And my parents believed her. I called them in tears. Screaming. Begging for them to tell me it wasn't true. But my mom's voice was cold. We don't know what to believe anymore. You two were always so competitive. Pam says you crossed the line. And then my dad. We're not coming to the wedding. It's just too hurtful for Pam. It wouldn't be right. My parents. My own blood. Chose my sister's lies over my truth. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to rip off my dress and cancel the whole thing. But my fiancé, God bless him, held me together. He told me we didn't need them. That we'd still have a beautiful day. That this was the start of our family. And we did go through with it. But let me paint the picture. I walked down the aisle with no father to hold my hand. No mother wiping away tears of joy. No sister standing by my side. The entire left side of the ceremony, my family's side, was half empty. Just a scattering of second cousins, a few family friends, and a whole lot of awkward silence. I smiled in the photos. But every time I turned my head, those empty chairs stared back at me like ghosts. The most important day of my life, and my family made sure I'd never forget who wasn't there. After the wedding, I didn't bother with thank you cards. I didn't send a single photo. I blocked Pam. I blocked my parents. I cut them off completely. Because in that moment, I realized something painful but necessary. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally, only love you when you play the role they want. Pam wanted to be the victim. And she was willing to destroy me to keep that narrative alive. My parents? They were too spineless to challenge her. They let her control the story. And in doing so, they abandoned their daughter. It's been 3 years since that day. 3 years of silence. 3 years of pain. But also, 3 years of peace. I built a life without them. A home filled with laughter, not lies. A marriage that grew stronger through betrayal. I thought I had closed that chapter forever. But then, just when I thought they were gone for good, they came back. And what they wanted from me was even more insane than what they took. It had been 3 quiet, healing years since the day my sister Pam wrecked my wedding. 3 years since I last heard my parents' voices. 3 years since I cried myself to sleep wondering why I wasn't worth the truth. I was finally in a good place. My husband and I were doing well. Our home was peaceful. My career had taken off. And then, one morning in spring, I stared down at a pregnancy test in my hand and saw 2 pink lines. I was going to be a mother. My hands were shaking. I couldn't stop smiling. I rushed out of the bathroom to tell my husband, and we held each other and cried tears of joy. That moment felt like the start of a brand new chapter, one where I could finally build the family I never truly had. We kept it quiet at first. Just close friends. A few colleagues. My in-laws. People who had shown me loyalty and love when my own family didn't. And then, one day, my phone buzzed. A number I hadn't seen in years. A text that made my heart drop into my stomach. We heard the news. Congratulations. We'd love to reconnect. Pam really wants to be involved. My fingers clenched so hard I nearly cracked my phone. I stared at the message for a full minute before it hit me. My mother had broken the silence, not to apologize, not to ask forgiveness, but because now that I was pregnant, I was useful again. Not loved. Not missed. Useful. My first instinct was to block her. Again. Forever. But part of me needed to see what she'd say next. So I replied. Involved? Involved how? And her next message was even worse. This baby could help heal the wounds between all of us. Pam's really struggling with infertility. It would mean the world to her, and to us, if you could open the door. Maybe let her be part of the child's life. Open the door? Pam? The same woman who lied about me ruining her marriage? The woman who cost me my family, my wedding, my sense of safety. Now she wanted to play, what, fairy godmother? Auntie of the year? No. Wait, it got worse. They didn't just want her to be involved. 2 days later, I got a message from Pam herself. The first words I'd heard from her in 3 years. I'm so happy for you. I think this baby is a blessing, not just for you, but for all of us. It's like fate is giving us a second chance. I know it might sound crazy, but I'd love to help. To be like a second mom. I froze. My eyes blurred. I read the words over and over again. Second mom. I nearly screamed. She wasn't asking to be an aunt. She wasn't even pretending to be subtle. She wanted to co-parent my baby. Pam, who had manipulated my entire family, destroyed one of the most important days of my life, and never once apologized, now wanted to ride in on her infertility sob story and claim some sort of twisted maternal role over my child. I didn't reply. I waited until I calmed down. Then I sent one message to both her and my parents. Let me make something painfully clear. This baby is not a tool to heal your guilt, or a bandage for Pam's infertility. I'm not interested in playing happy family for people who destroyed mine. My child will have one mother. Me. My dad replied, for the first time in 3 years. Not to say he was sorry. Not to ask how I was doing. But to say, that's incredibly harsh. You've always held on to grudges too long. Family forgives. You should try it sometime. Forgive? You want me to forgive the woman who turned my wedding into a nightmare? Who told people I was sleeping with her husband? Who made sure my parents walked away from me on the most important day of my life? No. No, I'm not forgiving that. Not when none of you have even tried to make things right. I told them. You didn't want a relationship when I was grieving. You didn't want to reconnect when I was hurting. You only came back when there was something you wanted. You want access to my child, but you can't even say sorry for what you did. And then I made the mistake of letting my anger out. I said, maybe there's a reason Pam can't have children. Maybe karma remembers. That message set off a nuclear bomb. Within minutes, my phone blew up with calls and texts. My aunt. My cousin. My grandmother. People I hadn't spoken to in years. All suddenly had something to say. How could you say something so cruel? You've changed. You're bitter. Pam made mistakes, but she's suffering. Oh, now she's suffering. Where were all of you when I was sitting in a wedding dress, alone in the bridal suite, crying because my parents had chosen lies over love? Where was all this concern when Pam dragged my name through the mud? Now you care because I spoke a truth you didn't want to hear? I'm not bitter. I'm healed. And that's what scares them. They can't manipulate me anymore. I don't need them. I don't rely on them. And they don't get to come crawling back now, acting like I'm the villain for drawing a line in the sand. I told my husband everything. Every message. Every call. Every lie. And he held me close and said, "You don't owe them anything. We're building a better legacy. One where love is earned, not forced." And that night, I made a decision. I would never let Pam, or my parents, anywhere near my child. Because if someone burns your house down, they don't get to babysit after the rebuild. Still, something gnawed at me. The way they kept pushing this, Pam's suffering, narrative. Like they were painting her as this angelic woman wronged by the universe. So I started digging. Quietly. I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Pam's ex-husband. I didn't know if he'd reply. But he did. And what he told me changed everything. He said, "I never cheated. Pam told your family that to protect her image. The truth is, she stopped taking birth control without telling me. She tried to force me into having a baby. When I found out, I left. She blamed you because she needed a scapegoat." My jaw hit the floor. She tried to baby trap him. Then told everyone I was the homewrecker. Suddenly, it all made sense. The lies. The manipulation. The sob story. She had weaponized her infertility to play victim again. And now, she was doing the same thing with my pregnancy. Except this time, I wasn't a heartbroken bride. I was a mother. And I would protect my child with everything I had. I asked him if I could share the truth. He said, "Go ahead. People need to know what she's really like." And so I did. I typed up everything, every message, every lie, every manipulation. I didn't name names publicly. But I made damn sure everyone in our circle knew the story. Because I was done being the villain in Pam's fairy tale. I was done pretending silence was strength. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is speak the truth. Silence is how abusers stay protected. And I had stayed quiet long enough. Pam lied about me. She told everyone I destroyed her marriage. She cost me my family on my wedding day. Then 3 years later, she tried to manipulate her way back into my life through my pregnancy. And worst of all, she expected to be treated like a second mother to my baby, just because she couldn't have one of her own. But after hearing what her ex-husband revealed, that she had secretly stopped taking her birth control to trap him into having a baby, I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I was done playing the villain in Pam's sob story. So, I told the truth. Loudly. I crafted a long, detailed post and put it exactly where it needed to go, on Facebook. Where all the family lurks. The cousins. The aunts. The uncles. The friends of friends. The nosy relatives who love drama but never ask if you're okay. I didn't use vulgarity. I didn't insult. I told the truth. I started with the facts, how Pam sabotaged my wedding. How she spread lies about an affair that never happened. How our parents believed her without proof. How half my family turned their backs on me. How I was forced to walk down the aisle without a single parent, humiliated and heartbroken. And then I explained everything she had done since, how she used my pregnancy as a reason to reconnect, how she positioned herself as a second mother, and how she used her infertility to guilt-trip me into a role I never agreed to. I ended it with the truth about her divorce, what her ex-husband told me. That she lied. That she tried to manipulate him into fatherhood. That she blamed me to avoid looking like the bad guy. I attached the screenshots, with his permission, of course. I didn't use her full name, but everyone who needed to know knew. And then I hit post. I turned off my phone. And I waited. Within an hour, the messages started rolling in. Some were shocked. I had no idea. "I'm so sorry I believed her. I feel terrible for not going to your wedding. I was told you were the problem. She always was a bit dramatic, but this? This is next level messed up. Others were defensive. You shouldn't air family business like this. Pam's infertile, haven't you punished her enough? You've changed. And then came the predictable ones, from Pam and my parents. My mom left a comment under the post. We should be healing, not tearing each other apart. Please take this down. This isn't how families handle conflict. To which I replied. No. This is how families handle conflict, when one side is done being scapegoated, manipulated, and emotionally abused. This isn't about healing. It's about truth. Then Pam texted me. Yes, after everything. After lying to the whole family, after asking to co-parent my baby, after using her infertility as a weapon, she had the audacity to message me. Her message? How could you do this to me? You just ruined my reputation. Everyone thinks I'm some evil manipulator. That's not fair. You didn't have to go public. Oh, Pam. You didn't care when you went private, spreading your poison behind closed doors, destroying relationships, and watching me suffer in silence. But now that the spotlight's turned back on you, now it's unfair. I didn't respond. She sent another message the next day. I'll issue a public apology if you take the post down. Let me just pause here to highlight the if. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I was wrong. But a transactional offer, I'll say sorry, if you protect my image. I didn't even dignify that one with a reply. And then, my dad called. I hadn't heard his voice in years. He sounded older. More tired. But not remorseful. He said. You didn't have to do this publicly. You've humiliated Pam. She's been through so much. I stayed quiet. Then he said something that sealed it forever. You think exposing her lies will make you a better mother? And finally, I snapped. No, Dad. Standing up to manipulation, protecting my peace, and shielding my child from toxic people, that's what makes me a better mother. He tried to say something else, but I hung up. And that was the last time I ever heard from him. What happened after that? Well, the family split. Some stayed loyal to Pam, those were the ones who always needed someone else to hate, someone to pity. But others? Others started reaching out with real apologies. I'm sorry I believed her. I never asked your side of the story. You didn't deserve what happened to you. And while I accepted a few of those messages, I didn't let anyone back in. Because forgiveness isn't access. You can forgive someone without handing them a front row seat to your life. Pam. She went quiet for a while. But I know she tried spinning the story to others. Claimed I made up what her ex said. Claimed I had mental health issues. But the damage control didn't work this time. Too many people knew the truth. She couldn't keep the lies straight anymore. As for my parents, they stayed stuck in their loop. Still hoping I'd get over it. Still hoping I'd move on. But they don't realize, I already did. I moved on the second I chose peace over people-pleasing. The second I chose truth over tradition. The second I chose my child over their image. When my baby was born, it was a beautiful, quiet day. No drama. No fake smiles. No toxic people holding my newborn. Just me, my husband, and a new life we brought into the world, free of all the chaos we left behind. I've built a new kind of family. One where loyalty is earned, not assumed. Where love is unconditional, but respect is non-negotiable. And to anyone watching this, if you have someone in your life who lies, manipulates, gaslights, or plays victim when you stand up for yourself, you are allowed to walk away. You do not owe them reconciliation. You do not owe them silence. And you certainly do not owe them access to your future just because they were part of your past. Sometimes the best thing you can do is burn the bridge and watch the smoke clear. Because on the other side of that silence is peace.